A beautiful foggy morning in this local woodland. You can see the visual appeal of woodland photography when it's foggy, but I think it goes beyond the aesthetics when it comes to foggy woodlands. I think it's about mindset as well, and when you come into places like this, the atmosphere is just fantastic. It just immediately makes you feel a little bit more relaxed, perhaps gives you a boost in confidence. So I think it's that mindset that also has a strong influence on how successful the photography is. Now, I do know this woodland quite well, but one place that I've not spent much time in is just on the other side of the wall down towards the river there. So I was there just recently, spotted a couple of little scenes which I thought had some potential, but I felt as if it needed the fog, so I want to go and have a closer look. Can't even stand up, mate. Oh no. Ah, what is that? I've ruined my composition now. Ah. I didn't realise I was on a slippy rock. Right, I think I've got myself into a stable position now, hopefully anyway. Now, I just wanted to start with something quite simple, you know, get me into the swing of things, because I spotted this lovely characterful mossy oak tree just leaning over the riverbank. It's a really straightforward shot, to be honest, but still have to pay attention to a few details. Now, it's a good job we've got the fog, because that's disguised in the opposite bank where there's an old stone wall, and if we could see the stone wall quite clearly, then that would be a bit of a distraction. We've also got some alder trees over on the left hand side. We don't want to kind of crop them off awkwardly, so I'm just noting that they're there and then just using them to help frame the left hand side of the scene. I mean, ideally they probably wouldn't be there, but just working with what we've got. And at the base of the image there's a nice splattering of colour from some lime leaves which are reaching up. And there's a few other branches creeping in here and there, but it's absolutely fine because they're directional and taking us into the image anyway. I'll probably anchor the oak tree over on the right hand side so that we can get the creep and the gesture and the reach of the branches arching over from right to left. So yeah, all in all, pretty straightforward. Some nice colours, coolness of the fog, warmth of the leaves, the green of the moss. So yeah, it's quite pleasing actually. So that one's in the bag. I managed to get that one before I started to slip everywhere and ruin the composition when I knocked the tripod. But yeah, I'm going to head further into the woodland that way, and then fingers crossed we'll find something else before this fog dissipates. You stay there. Good girl, stay there. Right, unfortunately the fog has started to lift. I can see blue sky now. But not to worry, because I have made a couple of images here already, because I'm always paranoid that the fog's going to dissipate. So I've been working this space for the past 20 minutes, and the reason why I've been drawn to this area is because just out in the distance there is one of my favourite oak trees. Well, certainly one of my favourites within this particular woodland. And when I have a favourite subject like that, I almost treat it as a little mini project, trying to capture it from different angles in different seasons, etc. But this particular angle I've always dismissed because I've always felt it looked a little bit too scruffy. But I actually quite enjoy embracing the scruff sometimes. But the reason why I think it's possibly worked today is because, well, number one, the fog has helped to soften some of the complexity, but also the lingering autumn leaves, some of those delicate leaves and the delicate autumn ferns at the base of the scene. I just think that's helped to soften the scene as well. There's loads of little squirming mossy oak branches everywhere. It is quite a lot of complexity to deal with, so positioning is very important. Again, not necessarily to separate those elements, but to actually combine some of those elements just to reduce some of that chaos. There was a nice feeling of light in the middle, with light reflecting off the river in the valley, in line with light coming in from the end of the valley and from the sky. And then we've got some nice framing left and right with the dense woodland. So yeah, I think it's turned out okay. And like I said, it's complex, but that's what woodland is sometimes. It's complex, and I think it's a shame not to try and capture that sometimes. So we'll see how that's turned out. So if you've watched my previous videos, you might have noticed that I like to just work a small area. Rather than making an image and then moving on, is just to explore that space and see what other potential is there. And I like to kind of create connected images too. So on that previous image, the left-hand tree was this one here, so I've decided to make this my main subject now. I've passed this tree many times, always admired it, but it's never felt right to make an image until today. And I think it's because of the combination of elements again, those lingering oak leaves, the delicate ferns again, combined with those lovely mossy branches just reaching out into the light, and then combine that with a cool fog, you get this lovely trio of colours and this fantastic contrast of colour. So the important thing when trying to capture that contrast of colour is to make sure that your white balance isn't too warm. You don't want those earthy colours mixing together. You don't want the greens to come out too yellow. You want to keep the coolness in the fog. So just experiment with your white balance and making sure that you get those separation in the colours. So it was just a nice simple image, 5x4 vertical, worked really well. Probably would have been even better if Meg was there when I took the image to anchor the composition. But yeah, she seems quite content just looking over the valley side and soaking it all in. The fog has completely disappeared now, but never mind, I'm going to wander around a little bit more and see if I can find some new subjects. Well, we've continued to enjoy a relaxed stroll, but I think it's time for us to head home now. But if you're thinking about Christmas shopping, etc., then please take a look at my website because there's some really nice prints available. My water bottles will be available again soon, or perhaps you'd like to buy a gift voucher for a workshop or book an e-learning session. You know, any support is massively appreciated. But thank you very much for watching this episode, and as always, I look forward to seeing you for the next one.